When a narcissist betrays a super empath, they step into the illusion that every cycle they have run before will unfold the same way. Trick, discard, control, repeat. The script they have perfected in countless relationships. But what they fail to see, what they cannot truly grasp, is that a super empath is not weak, not naive, and not dependent. A super empath has endured emotional chaos, navigated manipulation, and emerged with a profound understanding of human nature that surpasses anything the narcissist has ever learned. When trust is shattered, it is not just a broken promise, it is a trigger for transformation. The super empath finally sets down the burden they carried alone, rises, and sees with complete clarity. That clarity is the narcissist's collapse, because nothing terrifies them more than someone who refuses to play along, someone who sees through every mask, and someone who no longer fears their control. For years, the super empath operates from sincerity, loyalty, and emotional intelligence that the narcissist misinterprets as weakness. Compassion is mistaken for dependency, patience for ignorance, and depth for vulnerability. The empath's ability to forgive, to observe, and to remain grounded is not a flaw. It is the product of profound self-awareness and moral clarity. The narcissist assumes that everyone sees the world through their fragile, reactive lens, never understanding that the empath's strength comes from knowing their own heart, trusting their instincts, and valuing authenticity over deception. When betrayal occurs, it does not ignite blind rage or vengeful impulses. Instead, it sparks a calm so precise it cuts like a scalpel, illuminating the truth in the clearest possible way. The moment of betrayal brings an undeniable realization. The person they tried to heal or change was never interested in reciprocal growth, never capable of give and take, and never willing to match the devotion offered freely. That realization lands like a spotlight, exposing every red flag once explained away, every inconsistency once rationalized, and every manipulation once endured silently. Suddenly, the illusion that kept the empath engaged collapses. The mind begins to replay old moments, not with emotional entanglement, but with objective clarity, studying patterns instead of being trapped within them. Every tactic, every false promise, every weaponized affection and withheld validation is now fully recognized, no longer a source of confusion, but a map to truth. With betrayal fully exposed, intuition emerges as the super empath's most powerful ally. The insights once buried under hope and emotional investment become guides pointing unmistakably toward clarity. The repeated cycles of manipulation are no longer puzzles to solve or pain to endure. They are patterns of exploitation, evidence of a fragile ego feeding on control. This awakening is profound because a super empath does not awaken halfway. Once clarity arrives, it is absolute, irreversible, and freeing. The mind no longer clings to nostalgia, longing, or imagined potential. The narcissist is seen exactly as they are, someone who thrives on deception, fears genuine authenticity, and depends entirely on others to feel important. That clarity immediately dissolves the power the narcissist once held. Without emotional leverage, their control evaporates. Projections no longer stick. Accusations are met with disinterest. Triggers fail to provoke a reaction. The empath stops seeking approval and disengages from the emotional games that once kept the narcissist strong. For the narcissist, who defines themselves through domination and manipulation, this shift is catastrophic. They feel small, exposed, and threatened. Meanwhile, the super empath begins reclaiming the parts of themselves they had set aside. Confidence, intuition, boundaries, self-worth, and inner voice return, stronger than ever. They recognize their compassion as a gift, not a flaw, and those who misuse it are no longer permitted access. Step by step, the empath moves out of the narcissist's shadow, not through anger, confrontation, or dramatic displays, but through quiet, unwavering certainty. Every insight strengthens their freedom, and every boundary reinforces their autonomy. Passion and purpose resurface, guiding their decisions with clarity and intent. The empath no longer needs apologies, explanations, or closure. Understanding alone is enough. The transformation is complete when they realize that the power they once gave away is now wholly theirs. They have turned betrayal into awakening, manipulation into insight, and suffering into wisdom. They are free, whole, and profoundly resilient, impervious to the narcissist's illusions and firmly in control of their own life. The illusion is shattered completely. For perhaps the first time, the narcissist realizes they are being seen in a way that cannot be manipulated, twisted, or escaped. They face someone who refuses to participate in the story they have spent a lifetime controlling. This is the moment when the power balance flips entirely. The super empath stands grounded, self-assured, and unshakably rooted in truth, while the narcissist clings desperately to the remnants of the carefully constructed image they once commanded. Without the empath's emotional energy to fuel their ego, without the attention that once validated every deceit, without forgiveness to patch over every betrayal, the narcissist begins to unravel internally. Every tactic they once used to dominate becomes proof of their emptiness, exposing a core vulnerability they have never been forced to confront before. The narcissist instinctively tries to regain control using the same old manipulations: love bombing, guilt, rage, playing the victim, and dramatic attempts to provoke attention. But the empath no longer responds because clarity has rendered them untouchable. The very betrayal that was intended to weaken the empath becomes the catalyst for their strength. Each withdrawal, each unreactive moment becomes a mirror that reflects the narcissist's insecurities, lies, and hollow identity. For the first time, the narcissist is confronted with a reflection they cannot manipulate, a truth they cannot distort, and a presence that refuses to be controlled. That clarity ensures the relationship can never return to its former state, because the super empath has finally uncovered the reality behind the mask that the narcissist built over decades. Throughout the relationship, the narcissist survives by feeding on the empath's emotional currents, reactions, concern, attempts to fix situations, and visible investment in their shared dynamic. Every sigh, every tear, every explanation was once proof of the narcissist's perceived dominance. They confuse emotional engagement with dependency, assuming that because the empath cares so deeply, they will remain trapped indefinitely. The narcissist operates under the belief that the empath will always return, always forgive, and always seek peace. They never anticipate the quiet, final moment when the empath withdraws completely, not out of anger, not out of desperation, but out of awareness and self-possession. This withdrawal is silent, deliberate, and transformative, leaving the narcissist facing a void they cannot endure. When a super empath disengages, the process is subtle but seismic. There are no loud confrontations, no desperate attempts to provoke guilt, no demands for explanation. It is a reclaiming of energy so complete, it shakes the narcissist's carefully constructed psychological world. With no reactions to manipulate, no emotional responses to weaponize, and no attention to exploit, the narcissist loses their foundation. Their familiar tactics, baiting, jealousy, shifting between cruelty and charm, fail completely. The empath's silence becomes their most powerful statement, revealing the narcissist's inner fragility and dependence. The emptiness they have long ignored now demands acknowledgement, and they are confronted with the stark reality that they relied entirely on the empath for validation, control, and emotional regulation. The empath's absence also dismantles the narcissist's personal narrative. These individuals construct elaborate stories of superiority and invincibility, all contingent on others' compliance. When the empath disengages, that story crumbles. The narcissist's sense of self, which was never rooted in authenticity, begins to fracture under the weight of undeniable truth. Every manipulation that once seemed effective is exposed as hollow. Every display of power becomes meaningless, and every illusion of invulnerability is stripped away. The narcissist may attempt to fill the void with new targets, dramatic posturing, or feigned indifference, but nothing restores the energy once provided by the empath. The withdrawal does not simply remove a person from their life. It removes the very foundation of their identity, leaving panic, confusion, and a raw confrontation with their own emptiness. The narcissist can no longer convince themselves that the empath is obsessed, desperate, or emotionally tethered to them. The empath's silence forces a confrontation with a terrifying truth. They were never needed, never relied upon, and never truly controlled. Every cycle of manipulation, every act of drama, every carefully orchestrated power play existed only because the empath participated. Without that participation, the narcissist is left exposed, standing in a silence that feels both humiliating and destabilizing. Withdrawal becomes the empath's most potent tool, requiring immense emotional discipline. It is the deliberate choice of peace over chaos, boundaries over self-sacrifice, and truth over confusion. The empath is not punishing. They are reclaiming their energy, remembering who they were before the narcissist diminished their light, and investing fully in themselves. As the empath pulls away, the narcissist experiences panic and disorientation. Their dependence on emotional cycles, reactions, and the empath's responsiveness becomes painfully obvious. They may return with apologies, promises, declarations of love, or sudden gentleness. But the empath, now awake and guided by wisdom rather than obligation, sees the truth through a lens of clarity. Real change is impossible for someone who views relationships as tools rather than connections. The empath's withdrawal becomes a shield, preventing re-entry into patterns that once drained their energy. Every day of emotional detachment amplifies the narcissist's weakness. Their emotions wobble, their control slips, and their identity, once built on manipulation and borrowed power, begins to fracture in the absence of the empath's participation. This silence exposes the narcissist to the most terrifying reality. Their power was never real. It was borrowed, temporarily sustained by the emotional generosity of someone they tried to dominate. Without that energy, they are left to confront emptiness and irrelevance. Meanwhile, the super empath's betrayal awakens a deep, quiet strength. Sensitivity is not weakness, it is awareness, and awareness becomes power. When the illusion finally collapses, the empath no longer shrinks, explains, or overgives. Pain becomes a spark, illuminating the truth. Their worth has always existed independently of the narcissist's manipulation. Initially, the emotional impact is shocking because hope masked repeated patterns, but that shock becomes a teacher. Pain organizes, clarifies, and aligns the empath's emotional landscape, turning suffering into understanding. Step by step, the empath reclaims their emotional territory. They stop excusing cruelty, stop accepting blame that is not theirs, and stop explaining themselves to someone unwilling to listen. Each boundary becomes a fortress, each acknowledgement of truth a key to freedom. The lessons learned from betrayal sharpen perception, strengthen resolve, and reconnect the empath to their authentic self. They begin to see the narcissist's patterns clearly: flattery designed to create dependence, silence used to induce fear, chaos as a tool for control, kindness manipulated, love twisted, and forgiveness weaponized. This understanding is liberating, not burdensome. It allows the empath to step out of the fog, untangled from obligation and guilt, and into the power of awareness. The change is subtle but unstoppable. The narcissist may still attempt emotional manipulation, but the empath is no longer reactive, no longer bound by illusions of duty or attachment. Detachment becomes the source of true strength. Every step toward healing, growth, and self-direction reinforces independence. Passions once abandoned are reignited, neglected relationships are nurtured, and personal values are realigned. Each day spent focused on oneself becomes an investment in resilience and clarity. Strength is now fueled not by anger or hatred, but by understanding, self-respect, and unshakable clarity. The empath's awareness cannot be undone, and this quiet, steadfast power dismantles the narcissist. The empath realizes something fundamental. The narcissist's betrayal was never truly about them. It was always about the narcissist's own character, their own lack of integrity and inability to see beyond themselves. That realization becomes a shield. The empath becomes grounded, composed, and calm. Reactions are measured, emotions balanced, and perspective sharp. A calm form so unshakable that the narcissist cannot penetrate it, a calm that demonstrates true emotional mastery. As the empath's strength rises, the narcissist loses control over the story. They can no longer label the empath as fragile, dependent, or confused. The empath's emotional independence forces the narcissist to confront limitations they have spent a lifetime avoiding. The balance of power shifts completely. The narcissist becomes unmoored, unable to provoke the reactions they once relied upon. Guilt, charm, love bombing, and manipulation all fall flat against the empath's new awareness. What may look like betrayal to the narcissist is, in reality, freedom to the empath. Pain becomes the teacher, and growth becomes the victory. Each act of detachment builds a stronger identity, one no longer dependent on external validation or approval. Boundaries harden, intuition sharpens, and self-respect becomes non-negotiable. The empath rises not as someone broken, but as someone transformed, carrying quiet strength that cannot be shaken. This turning point is irreversible, and the narcissist can neither imitate nor control the clarity and power that the empath now embodies. The empath's awareness exposes the narcissist's patterns and weaknesses, showing them that their previous sense of dominance was borrowed entirely from the empath's emotional generosity. Every sigh, every reassurance, every depth of care the empath provided was consumed as fuel for control and self-importance. The narcissist assumes the source is endless, that devotion equals ownership, and that admiration is permanent. But admiration depends on respect, balance, and recognition. When betrayal or cruelty disrupts that foundation, admiration does not simply wane, it disappears. The empath sees clearly now. They no longer feed the illusion. The narcissist's reliance on admiration as a lifeline is stripped away, leaving emptiness and desperation in its place. Detachment is not reactive. It is a conscious shift in perception. The empath stops seeing the narcissist as someone to rescue and starts seeing them as someone who must be accountable. Emotional energy is redirected inward to rebuild, heal, and reclaim what was compromised. The narcissist feels the shift immediately. Fewer reactions, less praise, no validation. Their identity, once propped up by admiration, begins to crumble. Attempts to regain control through charm, apologies, or feigned confidence fail because the empath now filters interactions through clarity. Losing admiration devastates the narcissist, leaving them feeling small, irrelevant, and unseen. No external attention, new supply, or shallow praise can fill the void left by the empath's withdrawal. With each day of detachment, the empath redirects the admiration and energy they once gave the narcissist into themselves. They rebuild passions, nurture neglected relationships, and solidify personal values. The narcissist observes helplessly as the pillar that held their false sense of power collapses. The emotional currents that once flowed to them are now entirely redirected toward growth, clarity, and self-empowerment. Detachment is a silent revolution. It transforms pain into power, vulnerability into resilience, and confusion into unshakable self-trust. The narcissist is left to confront emptiness, while the empath moves forward, fully sovereign over their emotions, untouchable and undeniably stronger. Their clarity is a mirror the narcissist cannot bear to face, and nothing will ever restore the previous dynamic. The narcissist feels exposed, powerless, and empty. Their identity begins to crack because it was never built on substance within themselves, but on borrowed validation, admiration, and attention. For a lifetime, they avoided facing the truth of their own emptiness, assuming control over others would compensate. The empath's detachment forces them to confront what they have long avoided, the realization that empathy, respect, and emotional investment cannot be coerced, manipulated, or faked. These qualities must be earned through integrity, consistency, and genuine character, qualities they lack entirely. The moment the empath withdraws becomes proof that the narcissist's perceived power was an illusion, dependent entirely on the emotional participation of someone stronger than they ever anticipated. The empath's withdrawal marks the turning point where emotional control disappears. The narcissist can no longer measure reactions, manipulate feelings, or maintain a story of dominance. Every tactic they deploy, apologies, guilt, love bombing, feigned sweetness, is filtered through the empath's clarity and fails. Silence becomes a mirror exposing the narcissist's hollowness, forcing them to confront the dependence they always denied. Without reactions to feed on, the narcissist experiences a void so severe that it destabilizes their sense of self. The emotional lifeline they relied upon has been cut. They cannot draw validation or significance from the empath's absence, and every familiar strategy only deepens panic, frustration, and internal chaos. Detachment becomes the empath's quiet but unstoppable strength. They no longer absorb moods, emotions, or manipulations. Instead, they observe, recognize patterns, and see deception clearly. Old triggers no longer function, old scripts fail, and the narcissist's attempts at control reveal their dependence. This is not reactionary, it is transformative. The empath's inner world becomes sovereign, steady, and clear. Emotional neutrality is a shield the narcissist cannot penetrate, and every effort to regain influence only highlights the vacuum left behind. Without engagement, their influence crumbles, and their identity, built entirely on borrowed control, begins to collapse. They are left with the harsh truth of their own fragility, alone with the emptiness they spent a lifetime avoiding. As the empath finds themselves again, the space previously occupied by anxiety, confusion, and emotional labor transforms into clarity, self-reflection, and reconnection with personal values. Intuition sharpens, confidence returns, and boundaries solidify. Healing emerges from within, cutting off the narcissist's ability to manipulate or dominate. The narcissist tries everything: remorse, indifference, fury, charm, but nothing pierces the empath's awareness. Manipulation no longer works because the empath no longer misreads it as truth. Confusion, once a primary weapon, is rendered useless. Silence and detachment do not just block the narcissist, they dismantle the foundation of their power. Emotional sovereignty restores balance, independence, and the empath's rightful authority over their own mind and heart. The absence of reaction also attacks the narcissist's sense of superiority. Without emotional responses to validate them, insecurity grows. Every past illusion of charm, power, or control is exposed as borrowed, fragile, and entirely dependent on the empath. The narcissist becomes impulsive, unstable, and frantic, testing every strategy to regain dominance, but nothing lands. Emotional neutrality signals independence and reclamation, a return of self-worth that cannot be shaken. The empath's clarity, calm, and self-possession are unassailable, and the narcissist experiences their deepest defeat, the realization that love, respect, admiration, and significance cannot be forced, manipulated, or owned. The illusion of control collapses entirely, leaving them powerless before someone they once underestimated. And that collapse forces them to confront a truth they have spent their entire life avoiding. The power they believed they possessed was never real strength. It was an illusion built on deception, manipulation, and the emotional vulnerability of the people they targeted. Every moment of control was borrowed from others' empathy and care, not earned from their own character. As you heal, grow, and rise above their influence, it becomes painfully clear to them that your strength was always far greater than their fragile, hollow facade. This realization shakes them because they cannot tolerate the existence of someone they mistreated becoming emotionally untouchable, independent, and self-assured in ways that completely expose their emptiness. They search for ways to re-enter your life, not because they have changed, but because your resilience threatens the foundation of their entire self-image. Every boundary you maintain, every measure of calm you display, reflects a truth they cannot face. The emotional hold they once assumed over you is gone forever. Their greatest fear is losing relevance in a life they once controlled effortlessly. Your transformation becomes a mirror reflecting their insecurities, weakness, and inability to form authentic connections. That mirror, though silent, disturbs them profoundly. Even if they never articulate it, they are forced to witness that your growth and self-possession highlight every deficiency they have worked a lifetime to hide. As you rise emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, the narcissist feels exposed because their usual tactics no longer yield results. They cannot provoke the emotional reactions they once relied on, cannot manipulate with charm or guilt, and cannot reclaim the control they considered theirs by default. Your distance becomes a form of accountability, a reminder of what they lost through their own actions. The games they have relied on for so long no longer function, and the results they were addicted to, the validation, the admiration, the power over another person, vanish entirely. They feel threatened and unsettled because your evolution reveals the truth of their fragility and dependency, and every failed attempt to regain influence deepens their panic. As your energy shifts and your focus returns inward, the space once filled with their demands, emotional chaos, and manipulations transforms into room for self-reflection, clarity, and growth. They feel the void left behind, the absence of the empathy, care, and emotional nourishment they depended on to feel significant. Their other connections, shallow and transactional, cannot fill what was lost. Fear, envy, regret, and desperation begin to emerge, though they cannot admit these feelings because self-awareness is something they consistently avoid. They watch from a distance, pretending detachment does not affect them, while internally grappling with the reality that they pushed away the one person who truly understood, valued, and cared for them in ways they could never reciprocate. Your confidence, clarity, and self-love expose the hollowness of their carefully constructed persona. That contrast becomes a silent, inescapable torment. It forces them to face the life they could have had if they were capable of real connection. The emotional intimacy they sacrificed for control, and the strength they never earned in themselves. As you continue to evolve, your growth becomes a form of karma they cannot influence. It requires nothing from you. No revenge, no confrontation, no explanations, only the quiet, relentless expansion of your strength, which serves as an undeniable testament to what they tried to suppress. That realization becomes the turning point, a permanent shift of power to you, leaving them to face the emptiness no new supply, manipulation, or distraction can ever fill. When a super empath reaches the point of complete clarity, the effect on both themselves and the narcissist is profound and permanent. The empath no longer operates out of fear, hope, or obligation. They operate from awareness, self-possession, and an unshakable understanding of truth. Every emotional response that once fed the narcissist's sense of superiority is consciously redirected inward, fueling growth, self-respect, and confidence. The withdrawal of attention and care is not an act of cruelty, but a natural consequence of self-preservation. The empath's energy, once given freely to maintain connection, becomes a source of empowerment for themselves. In this space, the narcissist cannot manipulate, gaslight, or intimidate because the empath is no longer participating in the game. This detachment transforms ordinary experiences into lessons in sovereignty. What once would have caused confusion, guilt, or emotional overinvestment now becomes insight and strategic reflection. The empath can see patterns without judgment and recognize manipulation without personalizing it. Emotional neutrality becomes a shield, making them impervious to blame, guilt, or provocation. With each moment of calm, they reclaim a piece of their identity that was suppressed in the relationship, rebuilding boundaries, intuition, and self-worth. They rediscover passions and values that were muted, and in doing so, create a life aligned with authenticity rather than performance. Their strength becomes magnetic, drawing in relationships and experiences rooted in honesty, respect, and reciprocity rather than drama or exploitation.